the biggest mistake people make about prayer. They think God isn't listening. They whisper a desperate cry, see no instant miracle, and give up. But what if I told you, right now, while you're scrolling, hurting, hoping, God is listening to every single word you speak, even the ones you don't say out loud. I know you've watched videos like this before. I know you've prayed and wondered if it even mattered. But this message isn't like the rest, because this one is for you. You didn't land here by accident. God brought you to this video because He wants you to hear something. So listen, don't click off. Watch until the end. Because by the time you're done, you're going to understand one thing clearly: your prayer can shift reality. God hears. God responds. And change is coming. I'm not going to waste your time. I'm going to speak truth, real, raw, and straight from the heart. If you've been crying in silence, this is your sign. If you've been doubting your voice, this is your reminder. God is not deaf to your pain. He's closer than you think. So lean in. Block out the noise. This is a sacred moment between you and your Creator. Let's talk about the power your prayer really holds. And trust me, by the end, you'll never pray the same way again. You've been crying out, wondering if anyone's paying attention. But what if the silence wasn't absence, it was strategy? Let me show you what happens when God leans in. You may not see Him. You may not hear Him. And sometimes you may wonder if He's even there at all. But let me tell you something that needs to sink deep into your heart right now. God is listening. Always. Not sometimes. Not when you feel spiritual. Not when you've got it all together. Always. His ears are not deaf to the sound of your struggle. His heart is not numb to the weight you carry. And His attention is never distracted when it comes to you. The Bible doesn't whisper this truth, it shouts it. Psalm 34:15 declares, "The eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and His ears are attentive to their cry." That means when you cry out, whether with tears, with words, or even in silence, He hears you. He leans in closer. Not out of obligation, but out of love. You're not just a random person in a crowd. You're His child, His creation, His beloved. And a father never ignores his child's voice. You see, God's listening isn't passive like some distracted friend scrolling their phone. His listening leads to movement. When God hears, He acts. And I don't mean delayed, far-off responses. I mean real, intentional divine response. Sometimes it's not immediate, but it's always in motion. Heaven moves when a child of God speaks in faith. That's how powerful your voice is to Him. I remember crying out one night, broken, confused, unsure if anything I was saying even mattered. But later, I realized that moment was the very one where God began rearranging things in my life. He had heard me. Not just my words, He heard my heart. And that's what He hears in you too. So don't let doubt convince you otherwise. Don't let silence trick you into thinking God is absent. His silence is not His absence. His delay is not His denial. God is a listener, and not just any listener. He is the God who hears with purpose, with passion, and with power. And every time you pray, heaven is leaning in, because your voice, yes, your voice, matters to Him more than you'll ever know. If He's really listening, the question isn't if He'll move. It's how far you're willing to invite Him in. Because once heaven is called upon, earth cannot stay the same. Prayer isn't just talking into the air hoping something sticks. It's not a ritual. It's not a routine. Prayer is a summons to heaven. It's your way of reaching beyond the physical and grabbing hold of the supernatural. When you pray, you are not just speaking, you are inviting. You're opening a spiritual portal for the God of the universe to step into your situation. I want you to understand this with all your heart. God waits for your invitation. He has the power to change your life instantly, but in His love, He honors your voice. He honors your free will. And prayer is what opens the door for divine intervention. It's how you say, God, I can't do this without you. Step in. Take over. Think about that for a second. The same God who spoke galaxies into existence is waiting for you to invite Him into your storm. And when you do, He doesn't hesitate. He moves. That's why so many breakthroughs begin in the secret place of prayer. Miracles don't just fall from the sky. They are pulled down by faith-filled prayers. That healing you've been waiting on. That restoration you've been crying for. That door that seems sealed shut. It can all shift the moment you open your mouth and ask. You don't have to be eloquent. You don't need fancy words. You just need a real heart that says, God, I need you. That's what gets heaven's attention. That's what causes angels to be dispatched. That's what sends the Holy Spirit into action. The enemy wants you silent because he knows a praying believer is a dangerous believer. He knows the moment you start calling on God, his plans are disrupted. So don't let your voice be stolen by doubt or fear. Pray like someone who knows that when they speak, the heavens respond. Because they do. Your prayer is more than words. It's the trigger for the miraculous. You've opened the door. Heaven is alert. But what are you saying now that God is listening? Don't underestimate the power in your voice, because He never does. You might feel small, overlooked, like what you say doesn't carry any weight in this world. But I need you to hear me clearly right now. Your words matter to God. Every single one. Even the ones you think are too messy, too broken, too weak to be heard. He treasures them. In the kingdom of God, there is no such thing as an insignificant voice. Not yours. Not ever. You don't have to sound holy. You don't need churchy language. You don't need to say all the right things in the right way. What God wants is your heart. Raw, real, and honest. The most powerful prayers are not the ones that sound impressive. They're the ones that come from a place of surrender. Some of the most earth-shaking moves of God started with simple, heartfelt words. Hannah's quiet, tear-filled prayer brought forth a prophet named Samuel. The thief on the cross said just a few desperate words, and Jesus promised him paradise. It's not about the length. It's about the depth. I'd had moments where all I could say was, God, help me. That was it. No scriptures. No long speeches. Just one honest plea, and God responded. Why? Because He listens to the heart, not just the mouth. And your heart, when poured out in prayer, echoes loud in heaven. You are not invisible to God. You are not just another face in the crowd. He created you, named you, and waits eagerly to hear what's on your mind, even when you're unsure of how to say it. That means your midnight cries, your whispered prayers, your broken sobs, they all matter. So, don't hold back. Don't downplay your voice. Your words move the heart of the Almighty. Speak boldly, speak sincerely, and know that your prayer is not just heard, it is honored. Life can feel overwhelming. We're surrounded by challenges, pain, negativity, and distractions pulling us in every direction. But through every struggle, there's one answer: God. Here on Daily God Devotion, I share messages to guide you, uplift you, and remind you of God's promises for your life. If you want to stay closer to God, subscribe to our channel, and let's walk this faith journey together. If your words carry weight, then what happens when you refuse to stop speaking them even when nothing changes? This is where spiritual endurance separates the casual from the unstoppable. If there's one thing I've learned the hard way, it's this: God doesn't always answer immediately, but He always answers faithfully. And the difference between people who give up and people who see breakthrough. Persistence. Jesus told us in Luke 18:1, always pray and never give up. Why would He say that? Because He knew we'd want to quit. He knew we'd get tired of waiting. He knew how delay could feel like denial. But here's what you need to understand: delay is not denial. God isn't ignoring you. He's preparing something deeper, something stronger, something that lasts. And in the waiting, He's building something inside you that's even more valuable than the thing you're praying for. He's building your faith. There's a spiritual resistance that surrounds every breakthrough. It's like pushing against a heavy door. It doesn't swing open on the first try. But the more you press, the more pressure builds until finally, boom, the breakthrough comes. That's what persistent prayer does. It weakens the grip of the enemy. It tears through obstacles in the spirit. It breaks chains. It softens hearts. It opens doors that were sealed shut. I've had seasons where I prayed for something for months, sometimes years, before I saw even the slightest movement. But now, looking back, every tear, every word, every desperate prayer, it mattered. And it brought me to places I never could have reached if I had stopped too soon. Don't quit 5 minutes before your miracle. Don't let silence discourage you. Don't let time trick you into thinking God has forgot you. He hasn't. He's working in ways you can't see yet. But when you persist, when you keep knocking, keep seeking, keep praying, you align yourself with the timing of heaven. So press in. Stay bold. Keep praying like someone who refuses to back down. Because the ones who refuse to quit are the ones who walk into divine breakthrough. And I promise you, if you don't stop, God won't either. You've been waiting, praying, hoping. But what if the delay isn't resistance? It's alignment. Sometimes the miracle isn't late, it's right on time. Let's be real. Waiting is hard. When you're praying and nothing's changing, the silence can feel unbearable. You start asking God, where are you? Why haven't you shown up yet? And if you're not careful, the enemy will whisper lies. God forgot about you. He's ignoring you. Your prayers don't matter. But let me tell you something right now. With full authority, God is never late. Ever. His timing doesn't operate by your calendar or your clock. He moves on divine time, and when He moves, it's always the perfect moment. Not a second too soon. Not a second too late. But exactly when the outcome will have the greatest impact. Not just on your life, but on everyone connected to your destiny. You see, sometimes you think you're ready for the blessing, but God knows you're still being prepared. The waiting season is not punishment, it's preparation. God is shaping your character. He's teaching you to trust Him deeper. He's clearing out things that would sabotage your breakthrough if it came too early. He's developing the strength in you to carry the very thing you're asking for. I've had to learn this through tears. There were moments when I was begging God to move faster when I thought I couldn't handle another day of delay. But now, I look back and thank him for every not yet. Because when the answer came, it was bigger than I expected. It was better than what I imagined. And I was finally ready for it. So if you're in the waiting, don't get discouraged. Get expectant. Because when God moves, He makes up for lost time. He restores what was stolen. He releases what has been held back. His timing carries purpose. Keep praying. Keep trusting. Your appointed time is coming. And when it does, it will blow your mind. When timing meets faith, something explosive happens. But only if you believe before you see. There's a reason Jesus said in Mark 11:24, "Whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." That's not a feel-good quote. It's a command, a spiritual principle. Because faith is the key that unlocks heaven's power. Without it, your prayers have no weight. But with it, they move mountains. Let me ask you, when you pray, do you expect things to actually change? Or do you just hope they might? There's a difference. Faith doesn't beg. Faith believes. Faith doesn't say, maybe. It says, I know my God is able. And listen, this isn't about pretending you're not scared or pretending things aren't hard. Faith doesn't deny the storm. It declares God's authority over it. Faith is what turns a small prayer into a supernatural weapon. It's what multiplies loaves and fish. It's what parts seas. It's what makes the impossible bend to the will of God. When you pray with faith, you're not just speaking into your situation, you're commanding it to shift. You're saying, I trust God more than I trust what I see. That kind of faith gets heaven's attention. That kind of faith makes the enemy tremble. That kind of faith changes everything. And yes, doubt will try to creep in. Fear will whisper, what if God doesn't come through? But you have to shut that voice down. Speak back with truth. Say, I know my God hears me. I know He's faithful. And I know He's working. I've seen it firsthand. Times when all I had was mustard seed faith, but that tiny seed cracked open massive breakthroughs. Because it's not the size of your faith that matters. It's the size of your God. So stop praying like maybe it'll happen. Pray like it's already done. Speak life. Speak victory. Speak with authority. Because when you pray with faith, mountains have no choice but to move. Yes, mountains can move. But what if God isn't just changing the mountain, He's changing the climber? Here's something nobody tells you when you first start praying. The greatest change prayer brings isn't always in your situation. It's in you. Before God moves around you, He moves within you. And that internal shift, that's where the real power begins. Prayer is not just asking God to fix things. It's surrendering your heart so He can shape it. It's the moment where your will bends to His, where your fears get silenced, where your pride is stripped, where your heart softens, where your spirit strengthens. Prayer is where transformation happens, from the inside out. I used to come into prayer with a long list of requests. God, do this. Fix that. Change them. But the more I stayed in His presence, the more I realized I was the one who needed changing. My mindset, my attitude, my patience, my trust. And slowly, prayer began to reshape my thinking. It rewired my reactions. It gave me strength I didn't know I had, and peace I never thought was possible. You see, when you step into prayer, You step into the presence of the Almighty, and no one stands in His presence and stays the same. His presence purifies. It realigns you. It convicts and comforts at the same time. It doesn't just change your day, it changes who you are. And here's the beauty of it. When you change, everything else starts to shift too. You walk differently. You speak differently. You stop reacting out of fear and start responding in faith. You become the kind of person who can handle the very blessing you've been praying for. So, don't rush your prayer time. Don't treat it like a task to check off. Let it change you. Let God work in the deepest places of your soul. Because before the battle around you is won, the battle within you must be transformed. And it all starts in prayer. You've been transformed, refined, rebuilt. Now imagine what happens when that version of you starts speaking into the atmosphere. There's a reason the enemy wants to keep you quiet. Because he knows something you might not fully realize yet. Your prayer is a weapon. Not a weak, fragile hope, but a supernatural force that can shift atmospheres, tear down strongholds, and disrupt every demonic plan that's been set against you. When a believer opens their mouth and begins to pray with authority, the atmosphere changes. Darkness trembles. Chaos is silence. Confusion begins to lift. That's not exaggeration. That's spiritual reality. Because prayer doesn't just stay in the room. It flows like a river into homes, cities, schools, hospitals, even nations. You have the power, through prayer, to be a walking revival. I've seen it. I've walked into rooms filled with heaviness, fear, and division, then stopped and prayed. Not a cute, quiet, polished prayer. A real one. And within minutes, the tension lifted. Peace settled. Joy returned. Why? Because when you pray, you carry God's presence into the atmosphere. And nothing can remain the same when His Spirit shows up. You don't have to be a pastor or prophet to carry this power. You just need to believe that the Spirit inside you is greater than the spirit in the world. And when you pray from that place, hell backs off. Imagine this. You wake up tomorrow and start praying over your family, your school, your workplace, your city. Imagine what could shift, what could heal, what could be restored. You don't need a title to bring transformation. You need faith. You need consistency. You need bold prayer. Don't underestimate the atmosphere-shifting power inside of you. Wherever you go, bring prayer with you like a sword in your mouth. Because the moment you pray, the entire spiritual environment must respond. You were made to be a warrior, not a watcher. The power isn't just in the moment, it's in the memory of heaven. Your words may fade from your lips, but they echo in eternity. Sometimes you wonder, did God even hear me? You prayed months ago, maybe even years. Nothing seemed to happen. Life moved on. At that moment, the one where you cried out from your heart, God never forgot. Let me say this as clearly as I can. No prayer is ever wasted. No word you've spoken in faith has ever disappeared into the void. Heaven holds everyone. Revelation 5:8 tells us that our prayers are like incense, collected in golden bowls before the throne of God. That means your quiet midnight prayer, the one you thought nobody noticed, is stored in the heavenly realms like treasure. And what's stored isn't forgotten. It's waiting. Waiting for the moment when heaven releases what was planted by your faith. You see, prayer is like sowing seed. You may not see the sprout overnight, but deep beneath the soil, something is moving. Something is growing. Something is about to break through. I remember seasons where I stopped praying about certain things because I assumed God had already said no. But years later, I began to see answers unfolding. Not because I was still praying, but because He remembered. He remembered every single cry, every single plea, every word whispered through tears. And He moved. Don't let delay make you doubt the deposit. Your prayer didn't disappear. It was deposited in eternity. And at the right time, in the right way, God will bring it to life. Whether it's healing, breakthrough, salvation for a loved one, or provision, you planted it in faith. And heaven remembers. So if you've stopped praying because you feel unheard, let today be the day you start again. Not in fear, not in doubt, but with confidence, knowing that every prayer you've ever prayed is still alive in the hands of a God who never forgets. He is faithful to remember and faithful to respond. If every prayer is remembered, then the answer is already in motion. And what's about to happen is greater than what you've been waiting for. Now here's the part I want to tattoo on your spirit. God is already working. Even when you don't feel it. Even when there's no visible proof. Even when everything seems still. Behind the scenes, your prayers are moving the hand of God. This is where most people miss it. They pray once or twice, and when nothing shifts immediately, they assume nothing's happening. But prayer is not about instant gratification. It's about spiritual activation. It's like lighting a fuse on a divine explosion. The moment you pray, the countdown begins. Something's already in motion. Let me ask you, what if your miracle is just around the corner? What if the answer is already released and you're just waiting for it to reach your hands? Would you still quit? Would you still stop praying? Or would you lift your hands and say, God, I trust you anyway. I'll rejoice before the answer even shows up. Because that's what faith looks like. Praising in advance. Expecting results not after the breakthrough, but before. That's the kind of posture that gets heaven's attention. That's when you move from hoping to believing. From doubting to declaring. From waiting and worry to standing in victory. I've seen doors open when I least expected them. Moments where I said, that was God. Nobody else could have done that. And I realized He was working the whole time. Orchestrating. Aligning. Removing obstacles I didn't even know existed. That's what He's doing for you right now. So don't let your expectation die. Fan the flame. Keep believing. Keep thanking Him. You're not begging a reluctant God. You're communing with a loving Father who is already moving mountains for your sake. Your prayer isn't in vain. It's producing. It's shifting. It's unlocking. And even now, God is working. Right now. For you. Now, hear this. If you believe God is already working, then step out in faith and be part of what He's doing right now. This channel exists to spread His word, ignite hearts, and shine light into dark places, and you can help us go further. When you give through Super Thanks or become a member, you're not just donating, you're sowing into souls, planting seeds that will reap eternal harvests. Whoever sows generously will also reap generously too, Corinthians 9:6. So if this message stirred something in your spirit, take action now. Be a light. Fuel the mission and let God use your gift to transform lives. Now that you've heard this message, don't just scroll away. If this spoke to your heart, If something inside you is stirring, I want you to do two things. First, drop a comment below and declare this out loud. God is listening. My prayer is changing things. Say it. Type it. Own it. That's not just a comment. It's a prophetic declaration over your life. And as you write it, you're aligning your spirit with truth. Heaven takes note when you speak faith. Second, if this video ignited something inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Send it to someone who needs to hear this. We live in a world where too many people feel like their voice doesn't matter, like their prayers hit a wall. But you can be the one who reminds them, God hears, God cares, and God responds. If you're still here at this point in the video, I know one thing. God is doing something in you. So don't let it stop here. Engage. Respond. And declare this out loud right now wherever you are. I believe God is listening to me. I will keep praying. I will see results. Type it below. Speak it over your situation. Let your faith be louder than your fear. Your voice has power. Your prayer has purpose. And your God is listening. Amen. Please like this video and leave a heartfelt amen in the comments. If you want to stay closer to God, subscribe to our channel